They may be one day, but they're certainly not at this particular point in time. And when franchisors want to validate well to increase their number of incoming franchisees, right? They want those franchisees to talk about the support that they're provided, either in-house or outsourced.
Right.
And again, coaching hasn't been a significant part of the franchise world.
You're absolutely right. And not to beat this drum too much, but coaching is not enforcement of policy.
No, not at all.
Right. And that's a very different thing. And I do know that there are franchise systems out there that call it coaching, but it's really policy enforcement. True coaching gets back to the why. Why did you get into this business? Why did you decide to leave the corporate world? Why did you decide to do whatever it is this franchise provides? Once we figure that out, then we can help them go where they want to go.
You're right. Well, first of all, that whole why question is in the purposefulness chapter of our book, right? Top performers have a clear idea of their purpose and wake up every morning, and if not every morning, every other morning, knowing exactly why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
So that's important. But I agree with you. What the kind of help that franchisors will provide is that operational assistance, and there's a lot of telling. And for those who know the difference between consulting and coaching, coaches don't tell, they ask. Consultants tell. And so a lot of the resources that franchisors are going to provide for their people is very prescriptive. This is what we told you need to do. You're not doing it. Do this. And again, that's not what a coach does. A coach will unpack why we're not doing it. What are the obstacles? What prevents us from doing it? What's the cost and benefit analysis? And then mutually problem solve. So instead of telling somebody what to do, you help them so that they tell you what they're committed to doing.
So Dr. Camras, just looking at it from a resourcing, a human resource perspective, are you suggesting that it's a different person that says, you have one person who's a consultant in your organization who says, do this, do that, here's the system for marketing operations, ordering, etc.? Or can I have the same person who does coaching and consulting? They just wear intentionally a different hat. They have an intentional different meeting that is a coaching meeting versus a consulting meeting.
I think it's hard. It's hard to play in the sandbox with two different hats. It's possible. But from a resource perspective, I think, again, the coach's focus on really building leadership capacity in that individual, and the operator is just making sure all of the parts are moving in harmony. So, from a resource perspective, I would encourage both, because an operator might not have the coaching skills necessary to switch from telling to active listening.
Right. And when you say operator, just so that we have an understanding, we've got people listening from all over the world, from India and South Africa and Australia and, of course, North America, Central America, Brazil. What do you mean by operator?
Well, we're talking about the operations part of the franchise model.
Right. So we're in the head office.
We're in the head office. That's right.
We're in the field staff. We are that person that's driving between stores.
That's exactly right. Those people that are driving between stores and talking to the franchisees that are on the operations side, right? And again, depending on the size of the franchise, that operations person could also be the marketing person.
It could also be the owner of the franchise.
I could be the owner of the franchise system.
I've worn all those hats. I've put on a couple of miles myself.
Right. And I think, the idea of coaching as opposed to consulting has grown in the business community significantly in the last decade. There are more people aware of the difference.
Right.
And again, it's not something that I think a lot of franchisors internally have, right, in terms of developing their own staff. Okay? Right. Think about, as a franchisor, how much leadership development do you provide to your staff?
Wow. Well, just let that question linger for a moment. As a franchisor, how much leadership development are you providing for your staff?
That's right. And if you're not providing it, how do you expect your staff to be able to provide it to those franchisees?
Now, Dr. Camras, you've probably heard the joke because you and I are in the same industry. The response that we sometimes get from the owner of a company who says, well, what if I train them and they just leave? And the response from people like myself, yourself, probably Melissa Woods is, what if you don't train them and they stay? Right? How does life look then?
It's absolutely true. And why might they stay if they are trained? And why would they leave if they're not trained?
Right.
And if you're also thinking, right, with the same sort of mindset as a franchisor that I'm trying to build an empire, right, then your good people should always have a place in your system.
Right.
And an opportunity to grow. And that's the kind of thing that you want to be able to translate to your franchisees. And so who's best to do that? Somebody that doesn't have experience in developing leadership skills, or somebody who has the experience that understands management, leadership in organizations?
I'm writing notes as you're talking. So if you see me looking down and being quiet, which is weird for me.
No problem.
I like that statement. How much are you investing in training the people in head office?
Right. And so part of what we thought was there might be franchisors who said to us, instead of just focusing on helping us with our franchisees, maybe you could help us with, our internal folks in the franchise.
Wow. There's a lot here.
We are complicated as human beings, and we're very complicated as human beings that are business owners. So there is plenty of upside opportunity for all of us individually to grow and to help each other as a community grow.
Yeah. And at the same time, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be in business, especially as a franchisor and as a franchisee. The world is looking pretty good. From a franchisor perspective, recruiting franchisees, we've got people ready to leave the corporate world. It's no secret that whole baby boomer evolution. And those people are now saying, I don't want to fly from LA to Chicago every week. I think I want to live in wherever, LA or in Chicago, whatever it is. And then on the franchisee side, there's just opportunity everywhere for them to go out and make their mark and live the kind of life they want and hopefully choose the right franchise system. It's a great time. Excellent time.
I agree. And I firmly believe that, in spite of rhetoric on whatever side of the political spectrum you find, that our country is designed for small business owners to start businesses and thrive.
Right. Yeah.
So, we make it easy with the ability to take your 401k and without penalties and fees, roll it over and buy a franchise.
Right.
Okay?
There's far more pluses than minuses.
There are far more pluses than minuses. And so we do make it easier for people to do that. It's just, again, what are the skills that these people need in order to be more successful, very successful? And how can we offer that on a scale that, the larger companies are offering to their own employees? And again, this is a book and some curriculum that we're putting together, and the coaching tools that we have. That's all geared towards helping franchisors help their franchisees achieve greater success.
Dr. Camras, I love the way you talk.
Thank you.
Well, it just makes, I'm a franchise leader, so I'm listening to you and I'm just nodding my head. It feels like, I'm like, well, I got to disagree on something, but I agree with you on everything. As we sort of draw the podcast to a close, if people want to have a conversation with you,